everybody. Today I'm going to go over watercolor tips and tricks. Alright, so first things first, when you get your watercolor palette and your cup of water, you want to make sure that you are only filling the cup of water about halfway. This is for a couple of reasons. One, in case it spills, we don't have a lot of water going everywhere, so it's easier to clean up. And just, it's safer, right? I mean, if it's heavier, it's going to be on the edge. It could tip over easily. So it's just always nice just to have a small half cup of water. You're also going to want to make sure that you have extra paper towels, since we are using water and a lot of water. So you're going to need paper towel. And if you're doing this in your sketchbook, you can either lay your sketchbook page out to where it's on the table, or you can actually place paper towel behind your image or behind your paper, so that the water is not seeping through to the other sheets of paper. Since we are working with water, it's also less predictable, meaning it has a mind of its own, and it will sometimes do things that you don't want it to do because of the way the water is going. So keeping that in mind as you're working, that some mistakes are very possible to occur, and that's okay. Now, if something does come up that you don't want, you can always use your paper towel to dab and blot that away. So I'll grab some purple. And let's just say I don't want as much purple as I have here, then I'm going to take some paper towel and I can start to kind of dab that away. Now, it also does create kind of like a nice texture, but it will pick up the paint a little bit. And then you can rinse your brush off, tap on your cup so that you don't have too much water. And then you can just put another layer of clear water on top to even soften that up, or to kind of erase something that you might not want there. So it kind of erased my bottom edge there. Okay. Now, when you always want to rinse between colors. This helps to keep the palette fresh and clean from other colors mixing with it. So it's important that we're rinsing our brush before we switch to another color. So swirl off the bottom of your cup and do a tap and touch. Tap your cup, touch your paper towel, so you don't have too much water. You can always add water, but it's going to be a little bit harder to take that water away. As you saw with the dabbing, it does work, but of course it's not going to take all of it away. So it's always good to swirl, tap, touch, okay? And then you can switch your colors. Now, if you want to make a color that's not in this paint palette, you can mix colors, and the best way to mix colors is to create what's called puddles, and you can create them on the top of your paint palette on the inside. So I can then take some water, mix with pink, bring it over here onto the top of the paint palette, and then let's say I want red. Maybe a little blue. And now I get a different purple, different shade of purple. So that's how you can create other colors that are not in your paint palette, by creating puddles. Now, if you want your watercolor to be darker and less transparent, then you will actually use less water. So I will try green And I'm just going to put a little bit of water on the color. And then I get a darker color there. Now it's not going to be totally opaque because we are using watercolors. So it's going to be transparent. But again, you can see that I'm also using less water because I'm getting more of a dry brush, which means that the brush is broken and it's not as fluid, okay? And of course, if you want it to be more transparent, then you're going to use much more water. Okay. Now with watercolor as well, same thing with acrylic paints. If you're wanting to take up a lot of space quickly, or if you have smaller areas that you want to paint, then obviously you're gonna change your brush size. So there are a few different brush sizes in the classroom that you'll be able to use. But of course, this is more of like a medium-sized brush. There are smaller and wider brushes. So if you're trying to cover a lot of space, a lot of area with one color or even maybe multiple colors, you're gonna want a bigger brush. It's just gonna help you fill that in quicker, more efficiently. And then of course, if you have anything smaller that you want to do, you're gonna go for those smaller brushes. That's gonna help also control the water and how much water the brush is actually picking up in the bristles. So it's gonna be much more helpful for you moving forward when you're painting. So just keeping that in mind, that there are other brushes and they will be useful when you are painting certain parts of your design.